Yishem Adonai Mevorach Ma'ata V'Olam, may Hashem's name will be blessed forever and ever. Shalom, everybody. I want to ask you a quick question. So the title of today, what was the title? Walk or talk? How is that related to our shiur? We'll see in a minute. Tell me what you think Shabbat is all about. What are you supposed to do on Shabbat? Tell me what comes up to your mind.
Spend time with your family.
Spend time with your family. What else?
Taste of Olam Haba.
Ma?
Taste of Olam Haba.
Taste of Olam Haba. How it's manifested in our daily Shabbat. How do we do it? Regular Shabbat. How do you do that? How do you do taste for Shabbat? Good food? Good food. What else? Singing maybe?
Supposed to be connected.
Connected. How to connect it? And connected to what? In which way? It's different from the regular days.
Through everything that you do with intent. You learn.
Tell me what needs. Menucha. So resting. So I hear food, resting, spend time with the family. What else?
Spend time thinking about your own connection.
Thinking about your own connections. Okay. What else?
You can't walk too many without, because then you're out of.
Oh, so you're saying not to do. Okay, not to walk. We are limited outside of the Eruv for a certain amount of time. Okay.
Not to do mundane things.
Not to do mundane things, such as
work.
Talk
mundane talk.
Talk business.
Yep.
Talk business.
Part of the
It's not permitted to talk business on Shabbat?
No, because you don't do business.
You don't do business on Shabbat.
You put
Everybody know... what is it?
You put
Everybody familiar with the joke Nis Shabbos Giret, right?
What?
Nis Shabbos Giret.
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to show you this car.
Nis Shabbos... You heard that, right?
Yeah, no.
Nis Shabbos Giret means...
Okay.
Nis Shabbos Giret means we're not talking about this on Shabbos.
Ah.
It's not a proper thing. So a guy came to shul.
Thank you very much.
No, the guy came to shul and he says to his friend, we're not talking about that on Shabbos, but I'm selling my car. It needs Shabbos Giret, but I'm selling my car. So the guy next to him says, Nis Shabbos Giret, but for how much? So he said, Nis Shabbos Giret, $10,000. So Nis Shabbos, let me think about it. The next morning they meet. So he says, I thought about it. Nis Shabbos Giret, I want to buy it. He said, Nis Shabbos Giret, I already sold it. So tell me, talking on Shabbat, it's permitted or not permitted?
Talking in general.
Talking,
sure.
yes.
In general, for sure. What kind of talking is permitted on Shabbat? Can I talk on Shabbat the way I talk on the other days of the week? There's any even halachot in regards to talking on Shabbat?
I don't know if it's halachot, but
I already said the beracha for those who see me drinking. Ken.
You're not supposed to talk about non-Shabbat, non-Shabbosdic stuff.
Where is it says anything about speech on Shabbat? Anywhere. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
Maybe Zohar, I don't know. But I know.
You don't know? Okay, fine. So we all agree that on Shabbat we're supposed to talk differently than the other day of the week, right? People like to schmooze on Shabbat, especially, in some communities. After finishing Tefillah, they go home and they're supposed to start immediately, Shalom Aleichem, right? And Kiddush. Instead, they have a minhag. We need to check this minhag, but there's a minhag to sit in the living room and schmooze. Schmoozing for 30 minutes, or sometimes an hour, and they're waiting for this and this and that, and the guests coming, and they keep schmoozing. The malachim are waiting and waiting. They were escorted with malachim. Where's the shalom for the malachim? Shalom aleichem malachei hashem. Nothing. At some point, the malachim leaves, right? There's no shalom in the house.
Oh.
Big problem. So the trick is to say shalom aleichem quickly, and then you can sit and schmooze if you want. But at least say shalom aleichem really quickly.
But you're not supposed to
Now,
say Kiddush as quickly as possible too?
Of course, I'm saying some community, there's a minhag. I know that. So, you should know, Chafetz Chaim sometimes didn't do Shalom Aleichem, no Ashes Chayil, he would do immediately Kiddush, eat, in the middle of after finishing eating, singing, they do Shalom Aleichem. And Ashes Chayil, they asked the Rabbi why He says, we have guests coming out of town. They're hungry. I don't want to delay them for a few more minutes. Shalom Aleichem. This is Ben Adam Lechavero, between a man to his friend. We can sing Shalom Aleichem, and this later. It's a very special case. People are hungry and people wants to do the Kiddush really quickly. But the idea is that we speak on Shabbat differently than. But what's the source for it? And I'm surprised that nobody told me, because this is something you saying every Shabbat. Every Shabbat you're saying it. So I ask you for a Siddur. And the Siddur I open in Kiddush. In Kiddush for Shabbat morning. And Kiddush for Shabbat morning, what do we say? After we saying Mizmor LeDavid, for some community it says Mizmor LeDavid, and then they said Im Toshiv Mishabat Raglecha, nachon? Asot Chafatzecha Biyom Kodshi, should you turn back your feet due to Shabbat, or from doing your own things on my holy day? V'karata la Shabbat onig. It's a Kiddush, everybody's saying it. But the question is, you're really paying attention what it says? And even if we pay attention, do we practice what it says? V'karata la Shabbat onig, and you should designate Shabbat a delight. Likdosh Hashem mechubad, v'chibato me'asod derechecha. That day that Hashem sanctified should you designate as esteemed, and you should honor by refraining, not doing, from doing your weekday matters. What do you mean? During the week I'm eating. I can't eat on Shabbat. During the week I'm wearing clothing. So what's the difference? Now, today you're going to be in shock. I'm telling you. You're going to be treated with some electric shock. And this is the halacha. This is what I want to share with you. It's from the Zohar. We'll learn today, B'ezrat Hashem, what's the requirement and how close or far from the requirement. From doing your weekdays matters, from attending to your things, and from engaging in prohibited conversation. What's prohibited conversation? What's prohibited conversation during the week? During the week.
You're still not supposed to talk about it.
During the week, weekdays. What's prohibited? Lashon hara.
No.
Lying, gossiping, you name it. Cheating, cursing. Obviously on Shabbat, we're not supposed to do that. So what's the difference? What's the chidush? I'm not doing it on Sunday. I'm not supposed to do it on Sunday, Monday, and not on Shabbat as well. So what's different? In which way would be my speech should be different on Shabbat than any other day of the week?
Working business, your business.
Not to speak about business, you're saying.
Yeah, but it's the manner in which you're talking. You're supposed to be more wary about what you're talking about. That it's not chol.
More refined.
Give me an example. She's saying business. I see business all day long on Shabbat in the shul. The auction, every Shabbat they do auction. They're selling $50, $100, taking notes, they're putting numbers together. It's a business.
But that's for a mitzvah.
It's a great business for some shuls.
That's for a mitzvah.
That's not for a mitzvah. It's not.
Opening the ark, $300, $400.
That's for a mitzvah.
If it's not a business, what's a business?
No.
It's
Business is like regular work that you do during the week to make money.
I can't
So-
come to you and sell you caps during Shabbat.
So what? Okay.
But you can buy an Aliyah.
Right, because it's for a mitzvah.
Okay, so let's move on. You're saying it every Shabbat. Im toshi mi Shabbat raglecha. I hope you're saying, when you're saying the Hebrew part, it's great. But you need to understand what you're saying. I'm not talking about you. Everybody here knows. So, and then he continues and says, Az tit'anag al Hashem. Then, so if I follow the direction. By the way, it's a quote from Isaiah, the prophet. Okay? You can write down Isaiah 58. Isaiah 58, 13 and 14. As tit'anag, what's the benefit? What's the reward? As tit'anag, then you will have delight in Hashem. I mean, you and Hashem now close. Sounds easy. Sounds easy. Ve'erkavticha, and I mean God, will cause you to ride al bamot haaretz, over the high places of the world. And then you're on a business transaction, you're at the top. Everything you do, you succeed. Everything you touch, turn to gold. Ve'chalticha nahalat Yaakov avicha, and I shall grant you the inheritance of your forefather Yaakov. Bottom line, Kipi Adonai Diber. It's a stamp. Meaning, for the mouth of Hashem has spoken. Bottom line, that's the promise. Hashem sending the prophet. Tell the people, that's my promise. If you do these two things, you have success in everything you do in the next week for sure. You know, Rabbi Tzadok Kohen Lublin says that, I don't know if you notice, in the Siddur we sing V'yanuchu bo in Shabbat. In the evening where we say V'yanuchu ba, in the Amidah, Tfilat Amidah, Yanuchu ba, talking about Shabbat. Then it says in the morning Yanuchu bo, and then Mincha Yanuchu bam. Ba bo bam. This is what we say. Ba bo bam, ba bo bam. Okay? Ba bo bam. Ba refer to a woman. Ba. Bo, it's a male. What's the difference? Why it start with ba and continue with bo, bet vav, not bet aleph, bo in him. To rest in the Shabbat, refer to the Shabbat. Ba, evening, bo in the morning. Female in the evening, male in the morning. So Tzadok Kohen Lublin says that female and male is two different entities, meaning female receiving, male gives. Understood? It's called, by Kabbalah, it's called mashpia and mushpa. Receive and the giver. Okay, receiver and the giver. So he says at the evening, the Shabbat is supposed to give us blessing for the week. Depends if you act accordingly on Shabbat. And we'll see today one or two examples. We're going to give you a few examples for that. So it says the Shabbat in the evening is bechinat, is like a female, because it receives from the power of your actions for the entire week. Everything you did, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday till Shabbat, all this power come to the Friday night, and the Shabbat, your Shabbat, mushpat, will receive from the power of your work on the past week. And the very next morning, it becomes a male bo, and it will be mashpia for the next week to you. So Shabbat can be received in the evening, and in the morning is like a male that will give. Still on Shabbat, you can rectify, you can fix, you can do much more. Singing, brachot, Torah learning, avoiding a lot of some things that we're going to discuss today, and get much power and blessing for the next 6 days that coming. The whole 6 days being blessed from Shabbat. It's like a gas station that you fill up on Shabbat. Whatever you're able to fill up your car, your body, this is how you're going to ride. You'll be able to ride the next week.
But isn't it the time?
It depends on your actions on Shabbat. Okay? So whatever we do, we can be mushpa and mashpia. We can receive, and it's up to us basically.
Right.
We are creating our own destiny. We are building up our own mazal. It depends on us alone. You get that? So far so good?
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Isn't it the getting this on the Shabbat, but to receive is the et ratzon, and the Seudat Shalisi, that time?
Seudat Shalisi, it's a different story. It's called Ra'ava de Ra'avin, et ratzon. It's a very high People underestimate the Seudah Shalishit. In Mincha time, it's called, there's a reason why the Ashkenazim call it Shalosh Sudas. Not Seudah Shalishit, Shalosh Sudas. What do you mean Shalosh Sudas? All the power of the Seudah, the night, the morning, narrow down to this special time of Mincha. It's called in Kabbalah Ra'ava de Ra'avin. Very special time, very powerful, and people taking this time of Shabbat lightly. They can gain a lot of power at this time. We will talk about this time Ra'ava de Ra'avin someday. Okay, I don't want to talk about it right now because it's a shiur by itself. So now we know that our speech, talking and behaving is very, very important. What the Zohar has to say about it. So it says in Bereshit, I read the translation to English. Tochazeh, it's from Bereshit, page 32, Amud Aleph, A. Tochazeh, Kol inun amikin stimin, that's Aramaic, the nafki migo machshava. Come and see all these hidden deep mentalities that emerge from thoughts. It's called for ima. I don't know if you know ima, abba, it's in Kabbalah terms. Vekala natilon lo itgala demila megalelon man mile hainu dibur. What's dibur? Speech. Let's see what the Zohar has to say about that. It says all hidden deep mentalities that emerge from thoughts, which the voice, it's called Zeir Anpin, I don't want to go through these names now, receives are not revealed until the word, dibur, the word manifests, reveals and spread. Manifests them below. What does that mean? I'm going to speak Chinese for a second, okay? What is the word? Speech. Speech comes from Malchut. And this speech is called Shabbat. Speech called Shabbat. What is that? When it shines on man's entire stature. Because Shabbat is called speech of holiness. Common speech is forbidden on Shabbat. Meaning everyday talk on Shabbat takes the power which rules on the weekdays and lets it prevail on Shabbat. And this is great blemish to Malchut. And Malchut called speech should prevail on Shabbat and not the speech of the other side which arose through common speech spoken on Shabbat. When we speak mundane talk, and we'll see what does that mean, we give power to the klipa.
Oh, I see two sitra.
The sitra achra, the klipa. Okay? You know, there is a, I'm trying not to get to these topics. I'm trying to simplify it as best as I can. There is 4 olamot. 4 olamot. You know what's the 4 olamot? Abiyah. Abiyah. That's the abbreviation, the acronym. Atzilut, Beri'ah, Yetzirah, Asiyah. Atzilut, there is Tzimtzum. You heard about Tzimtzum? Hashem, in order to make communication with us, he narrowed down some sort of power that comes from him. It's light. So Atzilut, it's the perfect place. There's no good, no bad. No, I'm sorry, there's no bad there. There's no klipa, nothing. It's only good, ultimate good. He goes down with Tzimtzum to Beri'ah, and there's a little bit klipa, a little bit evil, a little bit ra' there, and there's a malachim there called seraphim. Then goes down to Yetzirah. There's a malachim called Hayos HaKodesh. And there is half-half. Half Kedusha, half Klippa. Evil. And Asiya is the world we live now. And there's Asiya of Ruchani. And there's more evil than Kedusha. Everything has in it Kedusha and Klippa. Everything. And our job, Israel job, that the Neshamot comes from Atzilut, from the highest level, from Abiyah, up Atzilut, to rectify, livro, to clear, to take the Kedusha from the Klippa. What is this title? Klipa? What do you mean? How it's manifested in our life. Bottom line, what do we need to do? Simple as that. Torah, mitzvah, and doing Torah, performing mitzvah, and ma'asim tovim. We are in every action that right now we're studying Torah. Right now we are clearing a lot of powers. If we have the right glasses, we would see how we clear path to Shamayim. We're separating Kedusha from the Klipa. Okay? Any action of tzedakah, ma'asim tovim, chesed, immediately we are clearing and separating Kedusha from the Klipa. Alright? So, what is our job? We come from Atzilut, the Neshama of Israel. Come from Atzilut, the highest level. Come down to Asiyah. And we're clearing it with doing actions. Shabbat, keeping Shabbat. Even the preparation for Shabbat. Cooking. Buying food for Shabbat. We're saying for the sake of Shabbat. Eating it with singing, with blessings. This is how we are separating from the klipot, because the klipot is more in percentage. I don't know if I can put it in percentage, but it's more. Okay? And this is our job. By the way, so what about converts? If the neshama of Israel come from Atzilut, what's up with converts? When the convert emerged the mikveh, the neshama from Atzilut, from the bank of Israel, come and get into him. And now we have double power now. This is why when you mess up with a convert, it's a big problem. It's a double sin. For example, if I make another fellow Israelite upset, I committed a sin. I broke the law. You should love your fellow friend. Fine? Sin. If I did the same thing to a convert, double sin. One, ואהבת לרעך כמוך. The second one, ואהבת את הגר. You should love the ger, the converts.
But he's no longer.
Verstehst?
But he's no longer a ger.
He is a ger. He is a ger. He has no Abba, no Ima. Hashem is his father. Okay? And I just mentioned that. I don't want to go through it right now. Just to get the idea. Of what we're dealing with. Okay. So the Zohar keep on saying, Begin the dibur, dibaya leshalta avelo ahra. So what kind of talking are permitted on Shabbat? You know? It looks like
Shabbat-related things.
Shabbat-related thing.
Yeah.
I want to talk on the Mavericks. I'm not allowed?
Why?
I love the Mavericks.
So?
I invested some money in gambling. Not me, God forbid. I don't know if they're playing, if it's the season now or not. I have no idea. My kids are all over it, but I don't know. Well, can I speak about the Mavericks? Can I speak politics? You know how many people talk this last Shabbat politics because of the elections? But can I do that? Yes or no? Did I break any law?
I say no. In your house, at least don't do it outside because that's a social gathering.
So let's see what the Zohar says. Okay, let's see what the Zohar says. Begin the dibur dibaya lishalta velo acha ve'dibu ite besitra de choshech. What's choshech?
Darkness.
Megale amukot migave umashme mini choshech. It says, the speech which comes and rectified from the aspect of darkness, from gevurot, of ima, reveals deep from within it. The meaning of phrase of out of darkness is that which, this is translation, that is that which emerges from the aspect of darkness, and it is rectified. It is precisely written out of darkness. It sounds a little bit confusing. Out of the gevurot called darkness, showing how Malchut is rectified from the darkness of Gevurot. It's based on the Ramak. So, every Shabbat morning, we receive a gentle reminder during Kiddush. Im tashim mi Shabbat raglecha. Very clear. Now, our sages have interpreted nor speaking words, dibur shel chol, a mundane talk, to mean the common speech of the weekday. Okay? Sure, we know about not doing work on Shabbat, but speaking? What is it? I can't work on Shabbat. Now you're telling me I can't even speak on Shabbat? What do you want to do on Shabbat? Pray and eat and go to sleep?
Learn.
Divrei Torah.
Learn.
Divrei Tzilach.
So you understand from this that I'm not supposed to speak on Shabbat?
No.
It's really hard. The above Zohar tell us the consequences of our speaking regular weekday speech on a holy Shabbat. It is not unlike the analogy presented in the Tanya. I want to quote something from the Tanya and share with you a short story. And remember, I sent you a link to some sort of spice. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know how is this related to Shabbat? You know that?
No.
You'll find out now. What's the name of the vegetable I sent? I sent it in the group.
Yeah.
It's in the group.
Today?
Yeah.
No.
In the meantime, you can find it. I'm going to read this. It is comparable. By the way, you can buy this fruit on Walmart everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Paper?
Capper.
Capers?
It is comparable by way of example. Listen, this is from the Tanya, something beautiful. By of an example. To one who seizes the king's head, drags it down, and dips his face in a privy full of filth, than which there is no greater outrage, even if he does it only for a moment. For the kelipot and the sitra achara are called vomit and filth, as it's known in the book of Tanya, chapter 24. When we speak weekday talk on Shabbat, we bring the weekday powers that have attached dross, like nonsense, right? Dross, into the holy union we work so hard to achieve. Remember, every day has his partner. Sunday,
Monday.
Friday, Monday, Thursday. It's because whoever is closest to Shabbat. Tuesday and Wednesday. Shabbat, mate, is Israel. So, Shabbat is the Kala. Boy Kala. Boy Kala. Shabbat is the Kala. This is why it says, by the way, that if a Noahide, a non-Jew, keep Shabbat, he should put to death. It says. Sanhedrin doesn't take him to death. I mean, it's from Shamayim. He's subject to the death penalty. They're not allowed to keep Shabbat. They have to break Shabbat. Even you see convert, you can hear them. They have to break Shabbat. My converts, they come to my house Friday night. I want to see them breaking Shabbat. So they have to turn the light on. Some of them came with agenda. They are Jewish already, and for a few years they keep Shabbat. You know why? Because they take in the Kala. It's like going Eshet Ish, being with another woman. And what's the punishment being with another woman? Death penalty. Okay? They can't be with you. In order to keep Shabbat, you need to accept upon yourself the entire Torah and the mitzvot. To be Jewish. So there's a story told about a pious. This story is in Yerushalmi and in Masechet Shabbat, Tav Kuf Nun Amud Beit. And a pious that he was walking on Shabbat over his in his orchard, okay, walking through his orchard and on Shabbat, and then he saw that the fence is broken. There is a hole in the fence. Then he thought to himself, he didn't say anything. He thought to himself, "No, I have to fix it immediately after Shabbat." And then immediately he says, "Oops, I'm thinking about mundane things on Shabbat." Immediately he did teshuvah for his inappropriate thought and vowed, make an oath like neder, never to fix the fence as remembrance of his mistake. That was for a thought only. The Midrash said, Talmud says that, you know what Hashem reward him? Hashem made exactly on this spot a tzalaf to grow. Tzalaf is a common copper. There's another name for it.
What?
You open caper. Open the, what's the name of it?
Common paper.
Common caper. There's another name for it, Latin.
Let's see.
And him, as a reward, him, this guy and his family benefited from this vegetable, from this tree, for many, many, many years. They sold the
Capari spinos.
Capari spinos. This is from the fruit. By the way, you can buy them at any store. From the flour and spices. They make great business from that. Hashem rewarded him. It's called in Hebrew tzalaf matzui.
What is that?
You see the pictures?
Capers, you put it on the
Capers.
dish.
Oh.
Yeah, it's this you see on the shelf on the stores. You never figure what is this. I've never had it. I'm sure it's really good, but very salty. You tried it. I know. I read about it a little bit. That that this special. You know what? Let me see. This special tzalaf is so good that that it has a lot of health benefit.
Italian cooking, all the best.
I'm going to read it just to give you to get the idea, because I was thinking salaf. There is a Talmud, and Talmudic says that the shlosha azim, the three things that in the world that very איך אומרים אז תכף, בעזרת השם. No.
They sell it with the
So they use it for as a spice. They use it for to help with. Where did I see it?
Bagels and lox and cream cheese.
Capers and onions. Your fish.
If you have diabetic, if
For diabetic?
zealous, as is zealous. The thinking they're zealous. It's a dog. It's the rooster and Israel, and among the nations Israel, and among the vegetables is the tzalaf. It grows. You try to kill it. It comes back. You go deep. You always come back. You can't get rid of it.
So it's a weed.
It looks like a weed, but it's a big tree. It grows like a big tree, and you can get benefit from it in many ways. It has a lot of health benefits. Oh, here it is. So it's good with people that have shigaron. When you have
Parkinson.
no inflammation in arthritis, and there's another thing on the gout. Gout, hearing, people, women that can't bear children, they eat from it. It helps a lot. Diabetic, teeth. I have a whole list here. Never mind. Because when I read it, I said, how Hashem rewarded him with such a vegetable that doesn't do anything. You see, there's a lot of benefit. In the ancient day, they sold it as a spice, as a great fruit. This guy did teshuvah only for thoughts, thinking. Okay, so after reading this, and obviously the Zohar speaks in length about how one needs to be careful not to speak about mundane things, because you're giving power to the sitra achra instead of, I'm trying to simplify it. So let's say instead of putting regular fuel, you're putting diesel. You're fueling, but it's diesel. You're going to ruin your car. You're not supposed to put diesel in your
You
car.
put the ink in your water anyway.
In a way. So instead of doing good for yourself, you're messing up yourself. It's you. We are messing up for ourselves versus bringing beracha to ourselves. So when I'm thinking about that, and you know me, I have to know how is that related to 2022, 2023 soon. So I want to know what is permitted and not permitted to speak on Shabbat. And for that, I'm going to read the introduction to the halachot, And I think you'll be very much surprised, but at least we'll know what are their requirements. You ready? Speech on Shabbat. There's halachot, part of the laws of Shabbat. Based on the verse of Yeshayahu, Isaiah 58:13, to speak words, it's a quote, our sages taught that our manner of speech on Shabbat must be different than our speech on the weekdays. Therefore, it is forbidden on Shabbat to discuss activities that one may not perform on Shabbat, such as saying, tomorrow I will travel in a car.
So you cannot do.
Our sages taught in Talmud Yerushalmi Shabbat 15 that in reality all conversation should be forbidden on Shabbat. I know some people, they do ta'anit dibur. You know what's ta'anit dibur?
You don't talk.
What's ta'anit dibur?
Not speaking.
Not speaking.
Not speaking the entire Shabbat, except brachot, singing, studying Torah. That's it. And this ta'anit dibur is very, very, very powerful. Let me tell you, it's really hard to do ta'anit dibur. Try it for 1 hour. Try it 1 hour. I know some people, they can't stop talking even when they sleep. And they were hard pressed to find room to permit, the rabbis, to permit one to greet a fellow Jew and ask him how he's doing on Shabbat. This should give us some idea of the correct attitude one should have regarding conversation with others on Shabbat. They have to find ways to, when you say Shabbat Shalom to someone. Shabbat Shalom, huh? Oh, well, it's not pashut. Our sages taught further, Shabbat for Hashem. We said Shabbat for Hashem. This is from the book of Shemot 29. Rabbi Avinu explained this as abstain, quote, abstain from labor as Hashem did. How did Hashem create the world?
With a dibur.
With?
Dibur.
When did he stop talking?
Shabbat.
Creating? Huh? Shabbat. You have to do the same thing. Just as the blessed Holy One rested from speech, you must rest from speech as well. On each of the 6 days of creation, Hashem brought the world into existence by pronouncing the command for it to happen. On Shabbat, He ceased creating by refraining from speaking. We are to follow suit and refrain not only from physical act of melacha, but also from speaking about performing melacha. I can't even say, and we'll see B'ezras Hashem today. That's my plan. I have time. Few halachot. So we get ready for the next Shabbat. The Holy Zohar in Parashat Beshalach. We'll get to it, B'ezrat Hashem, soon. Taught that when someone speaks, his words make either a positive or negative impression in the heavens. If someone is involved in the pleasures of Shabbat, it is forbidden for him to speak words of weekday activities, for these will harm the sanctity of the day. It is comparable to someone who is sitting at the king's party. It will be improper for him to turn to other activities at that time. The president is speaking and you're in front of his face with your phone. Hey, what's up, man? That might be appropriate. Huh? By one no, that's right. He would ask if someone called him, if the phone's for him. Okay. Okay. Harav Eliezer Papo. You heard about Eliezer Papo? When we finish B'ezras Hashem the Zohar, our next thing is Rabbi Eliezer Papo. It's the Pele Yoetz. You didn't hear about the Pele Yoetz? You know the Pele Yoetz? We need to do teshuvah about that. He's a Ashkenazi rabbi. Ashkenazi rabbi, one of the greatest. Every word sukkah. Every word sukkah. We must study Rabbi Eliezer Papo Pele Yoetz. It goes alphabetical for Musar, words of Musar. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful chidushim. I'll give you one chidush because you asked for it. Rabbi Eliezer Papo in part of Brachot, Bet, letter Bet, give us a hint, give us a candy from the Zohar. He quote the Zohar in Kuf Chav Zayin, 127, saying people giving blessing to their children and it's never fulfilled. Nothing happens. Big problem. And there's a reason for it. Now what's the reason?
That's speech on Shabbos.
No, not related to that. The reason is, which is actually related to the parasha we just read. It's because they giving bracha to the children first before giving bracha to Hashem. Nothing will be fulfilled. There's a question. What should I say? L'chaim, I want to wish the congregation and the people here that invite me for so and so, Hashem, and then say, give them bracha and health and parnasa and livelihood. And everybody says l'chaim, and then say Boruch Atah Borei Pri HaGefen, or should I do this? Boruch Atah Borei Pri HaGefen. Guys, I want to make a toast. L'chaim. What should I do? 1 or 2?
2.
Now you're smart. 2.
You gave us.
Give bracha to Hashem first. It was a great war at the time of the Torah. It speaks about the Bereshit, the last parasha. 4 kings defeat the 5 kings. They took in captivity Lot. Who saved them? Avram. Avram is coming back. Shem is coming out, giving them blessing. May Hashem bless you, He's so great, and bless the God of Avram. And the Torah says, in who Kohen, he is a priest, La'el Elyon.
Oh.
Who Kohen, meaning, Talmud Masechet Sanhedrin says, he is Kohen, a priest to Hashem at that time, not his descendants. What happened? Avram was upset. Why are you upset? Abraham, you just came from a war. You were able to save Lot. Shem is coming to you with gifts and he's blessing you. Shem, the son of Noah, he's a tzaddik of the generation. He's coming to greet you and you're upset? Abraham says, this is not appropriate, Rabbi Shem. He says, what happened? He says, you give me greeting, blesses Abraham, and then you're blessing Hashem? You say, Hashem is blessed, and then you can, if you want, you can bless me, Abraham. Because of that, Shem lost his priesthood and was given to Abraham, Abraham to Yitzchak, Yitzchak to Yaakov, Yaakov to Levi, Levi to Aaron, till today. We learn from here a great lesson. Before you greet anybody, give greeting to Hashem first. You want to bless your children? First, give bracha to Hashem. So Rabbi Eliezer Papo in the book of Pelei speaks about it in length. It's worth to read it, believe me. So there's a lot of tips for life in this book. Say Baruch Hashem Hashem Mevorach Leolam Va'ed. When I do bracha to my kids, I say Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach Me'ata Va'ad Olam. Now I give blessing to everyone. This is the Zohar. This is the Rabbi and other sources. To be careful. Greet Hashem always. Before L'chaim, do bracha. We see it in our, in Tu B'Shvat. We see it in Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah we saying brachot. After, when we start to say brachot over the dates and the what do you have on the table? Pomegranates and all that. You must say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Ha'etz. You eat from it. And then you do what you want to wish to yourself, that the enemies will be destroyed, will have a lot of mitzvot like the seeds of the pomegranate. First beracha, then the greetings to yourself. This is the correct order. People do the opposite. May Hashem destroy my enemy, may Hashem destroy, and then he says, then remember to bless Hashem. It doesn't work like that. Question. You want to ask something?
I didn't answer that, thank you.
Rabbi Eliezer Papo. I have 10 minutes. Rabbi Eliezer Papo wrote, I can tell you right now, it's going to be, Be'ezrat Hashem, same topic, number 2, because I didn't finish everything. Rabbi Eliezer Papo wrote in his Chesed LeEphraim 3306:1 that according to the Zohar, again, they're always quoting from the Zohar. You see how many halachot we learn from the Zohar. People ignoring the Zohar.
Why?
Rabbi Shimon, it's hard. to understand. And it's Aramaic, and it's complicated, and it's a lot of sfirot, and you need to dig into the right thing that we can use it on a daily. You know, for me to prepare the class, it takes me 4 to 5 hours to give a class of 45 minutes.
Well, thank you.
It's a must. It takes time to take the thing that I think I'll be able to understand and share. So anyways, it says, Rabbi Eliezer Papa saw that according to the Zohar, one can incur the death penalty for desecrating Shabbat by simply speaking about mundane matters. Did you ever hear that before? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read it again. That according to the Zohar, one can incur the death penalty for desecrating Shabbat by simply speaking about mundane things. Let me remind you something. When I said death penalty, when we learned it, it's not always death penalty when they chop your head off. It could be death upon one as form as poverty, God forbid, no kids, blindness, depression, and anxiety. You're like a death person. You don't want to be in this world. Instead of life, you get death in this world. For doing what? So according to the Zohar, he wrote further in his Peleoet that I mentioned before, I'm greatly pained, like pain, right? Mm-hmm. Like painful. I'm greatly pained that there are those who do not take care to refrain from speaking of mundane matters on Shabbat. The verse tells us, quote, to speak words. It says, "Vedaber dovor" in the Kiddush, and follow this with, then you will gain the pleasure of Hashem. Only if one will be careful with his speech will one merit to receive this sublime pleasure. Most people are unaware of this. They do not understand and cannot believe that when one speaks of mundane matters on Shabbat, it is considered an act of Shabbat desecration. I think if we came today only to hear that, it was worth it. We know what's the goal. We should aim, and now everyone can judge himself if I'm close or far from this target. Harav Chaim Palachi, it's a great Rabbi, Sephardi, lived in Turkey. In his Kaf HaChaim, well-known book, says, quote, it is forbidden to say on Shabbat, I'm going to do this job tomorrow. Listen to this. This is something, I heard it when I was a child, before I even heard about Rabbi Palachi. That everything you talk on Shabbat, you have no mazal during the week. You have no mazal tov during the week. If you talk about any business transaction on Shabbat, on the contrary, if you want to speak and you hold yourself because you know this is Shabbat and you refrain from doing so, you'll have beracha in this matter. Try it. Rabbi Palachi says it is forbidden to say on Shabbat, I'm going to do this job tomorrow. And he says the following, I have a tradition, masoret, that if a person tells others on Shabbat, on his weekdays plans, his efforts will not be crowned with success. Let me read this sentence again. I have tradition, he says, that if a person tells others on Shabbat of his weekdays plan, his efforts will not be crowned with success.
How about the people who are listening?
You want to ruin your business? Talk about your business on Shabbat. What if someone asks you, so what do you do for a living?
That's the same thing.
What do you do for a living?
Because you cause him to sin.
What do you do for a living? You get these questions all the time, especially when you meet new people and when you guess. What do you do?
You tell them I can't talk about it? No.
So you might be offended. So you say, Christian, I'm a teacher. Short, brief, and to the point. I do this, I sell that, there's a season, thank God, I'm tired, I'm so tired, I'm working over. Shh. Short, brief, and to the point. I'm a teacher, I'm a contractor, I'm a diamond business, that's it. Finish. I'm a lawyer also. I forgot the concept. Sorry. Okay, let me conclude with saying the following. The author of Kav HaYashar wrote, I have noticed a practice common among those who live on farms distant from one another, who meet only on Shabbat. In the ancient day, that's the people lived in farms, and on Shabbat they gathered in order to be together with the Hasidic Rabbi or whatever, so they can experience Shabbat with Kedusha in Eruv. We used to live in places out of Eruv. So he says, on Shabbat they were gathering, and they come to the synagogue to pray with a minyan for the honor of the King of the universe. It's great, huh? Once they met, however, they are occupied with useless activities. This one tells how he purchased horses at the bargain price, and the other tells how he purchased a cow, until their entire conversation is filled with weekdays activity. It will be better, the Rabbi says, if they would stay home and sleep in their beds rather than come to the synagogue and engage in weekday conversations on Shabbat. Missing the Torah, missing the Sefer Torah.
This is why Valerie and I don't go to shul on Shabbat.
I'm sure that's the reason.
We stay at home.
I have no doubt in my mind.
No Monday comes.
Let me finish with saying I have 4 more lines and I have 3 more minutes. Harav Isaac Sher, Leket Sichot 30, wrote that refraining from speaking about weekday activities is part of the mitzvah of honoring Shabbat. You're about to say something and you stop because now remember this is Shabbat, I'm not going to talk about it. Immediately you get reward of honoring Shabbat. And the power of honoring Shabbat, this light that you created, will influence you in this coming week. It's almost like I would love people to ask me if I can refrain and get this reward. The basic element of this mitzvah is to act finely and respectfully throughout the Shabbat, raising the level of one's existence above that of the weekdays. Therefore, one must raise the level of one's speech on Shabbat to a higher and more spiritual plane. So it sounds like it's better not.
Gosh, David, we're so righteous.
We-
We just
we-
sleep and don't talk.
Hey, guys, I'm guilty. Guilty like you, like everyone else. I don't say you, but I'm guilty also. I'm trying, I'm making efforts. It's not always easy. And there's halachot here, what if, and we study them B'ez Hashem next week. I'm going to share with you maybe one. I have 1 minute?
Yeah.
I have 3 minutes.
So next week is the walk part?
The walk. Talk the talk is today, walk the walk is next time. So sometimes your wife asks you questions, and if you don't answer, it'll be chas v'shalom problem with shalom bayit. What Allah has to say about it. So let's start with the first halacha. Siman Shin Zayin. It is forbidding to engage in weekdays conversations on Shabbat. This means one may not say, tomorrow I'm going to do this act of melacha. Or tomorrow I'm going to travel in a car. It's not a job, I'm traveling. Or tomorrow I will write a letter. I'll send you an email on Sunday. Motzei Shabbat, I'll text you. Slash build a house, whatever. It is forbidden whether the act one speaks about is forbidden on Shabbat by the Torah, or if it is forbidden only by our sages. Also, it is forbidden to say these things, not only when one speaks to others, but even when talking to oneself, and whether one is speaking to one's partner, to a preparator, or to someone totally unrelated to the melacha being discussed. If it is possible to perform this activity in some way that will be permitted on Shabbat, however, it is technically permissible to speak about on Shabbat. I want to tell you something. We'll see here, we'll share things that are permitted to say on Shabbat. It doesn't mean that You should. Because now we learn less is more. Less the better. Less is more mitzvah. Bringing more light to our life. Even when one's conversation has nothing to do with any acts of melacha or business, it is forbidden to engage in lengthy, purposeless conversation. One should attempt to limit this activity on Shabbat. It is forbidden to engage in conversations filled with jokes, or to poke fun at others, whether on Shabbat or on weekdays. Okay? I remember as a child, my grandfather, Baruch Hashem, Tzaddik Mori Silvani, he doesn't know, you tell them who's the president, who is the prime minister, he doesn't know anything. Yeshiva, bait, yeshiva, bait, bet kenesset. I see him either sleeping like that, or doesn't know anything. On Shabbat on his table, there is no talking. You can't share with him anything. Either you want to tell me about Torah or Shabbat full. I'm telling you, Shabbat full of kedusha. I experienced that when I was a child. And today we have a lot of temptation out there, and it makes it harder. Manu Alachan Kalu for today. It is proper for someone who genuinely cares about the sanctity of Shabbat to spend the day speaking only about Torah subjects or other necessary subjects. Can I say to my friend Shalom? Shalom!
Yes, why not? Yeah.
When greeting an acquaintance on Shabbat, one should not greet him in the manner one greet people during the week. During the week you say Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Can I say Good Shabbos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One must greet him by saying Shabbat Shalom. And this way, fulfill the verse, remember the Shabbat day to sanctify it. I want to greet the host of this house, Baruch Hashem, the Granite family. May Hashem give you a great parnasah for hosting the shiur. May Hashem give you good health and mazal tov to all your children for the efforts you're making all the time for this shiur, and all the participants. Hashem bless you with the same blessings. And we should meet here, Be'ezrat Hashem, next time with joy, and more people will join us. The more people you bring to this class, the benefit you get from it will be doubled. Every person you bring, even if you ask, by the way, the halacha says, even if you ask someone to come and he didn't come, he didn't show up, you make a sincere effort. He didn't show up, it'll be considered as if he came, and you get the full reward. We learned that. I share with you this source, how we learned it from that. We learned from Mesit to Mediach, the one that persuade other people to worship idols, entice people. Remember, we learned that. So it's a great thing to do. Make efforts. Text, call people. Anybody, they don't come, tell them, watch it on Zoom, Facebook Live, later on YouTube. Best of the best is to come.
Yes.
Because you get the share of their footsteps they come. And everything.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Shavua Tov.
Amen to all the Rocco to you.
Rabbi, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I often get bombarded. I don't know.
Do you know what Bionet?
No, please don't.
Vicky, please erase this part from the video.
I don't do social media.
Oh, yeah, shut ahead.
Wait, you'll overshoot.
That was made by Daniela Tatch, the Tzadikah.
Delicious.
With efforts, Baruch Hashem, amazing.
Another good reason to be here.
Same time next week.
I often get bombarded